Good afternoon, everyone. Kyrgyzstan looks like electric geology. Does it matter if it's auroral ropes twisting on themselves into field-aligned currents, evolving into planetary discharge lightning or airburst, comet events? Suleiman II, sacred mountain, petroglyphs that were seen during the event. Lee side now is a museum. Interesting how Patriot columns turning into smiley faces are what Kyrgyzstan has on the stamps as a petroglyph from the ancient site. Thunderbolts Project, Andy Hall, electric geology, shockwave. One of those two causes. Shock reflections turning into the dragon scales. Brownian tree scarred on the plateau. Shockwave envelope powderizing the Earth's surface. Airburst features and shockwaves visible through the airs in our test. What would it look like after the event? Dielectric properties, hypersonic winds on the sand dune. Layer deposition, thermal stratification. This location's still a place of wonder. It's a sacred mountain. Look how prevalent the petroglyphs are on the walls. We can replicate that in the lab. Kyrgyzstan. The same exact shapes repeated, just an increase in voltage flow. How many times do we see these again and again, matching across the planet? This representation in Kyrgyzstan goes through the different charged states from high to low. What did they experience? And give thanks that there are people out there looking at the mechanisms, trying to trace the patterns and cycles once again. President Biden's economic decisions are gripping our nation, and everyday Americans are watching as their purchasing power continues to fall further, and the uncertainty of what's ahead in 2022. This administration has moved forward with $6.6 trillion of spending, and next on the agenda is the greatest tax hike in generations. Economists are comparing our current inflationary environment to 1970s inflation, and if you look back, gold was up 20x and silver 37x from 1970 to 1980. Learn how simple it is to add physical gold and silver to your portfolio ahead of the rise in inflation and predicted price rises. Patriot Gold Group has a no-fee-for-life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-356-4470 and get a free investor guide today. And with the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer from 2016 to present, click on the link in the description box below for more information. And now on with the video. So if people did witness this, and the petroglyphs are of electrical discharge in our atmosphere, plasma, lightning holding state for 2 minutes in the atmosphere, dancing across the skies. That's what you're seeing on the canyon walls. But would there be physical evidence with what was left in terms of the petroglyphs and now what we can replicate in the plasma laboratory? Andy Hall, thank you for putting all the prior research together. I'm just showing you a spot on the planet where it is. Thunderbolts Project, everything's electric. Bow shock, melting and plowing the ground. So what does that mean for you and me? Well, it can happen in one of two ways. It can be a plasma bolt, literally interplanetary lightning, or continental plate to continental plate lightning, something that gigantic. Rip up the ground 500 miles from where it struck or more and turn it into dust. This type of so far off the scale of even comprehension in terms of multiplying what you know now, the biggest you can possibly multiply it in your mind, and then multiply that by 100 again. That kind of lightning. Or what we saw in Chelyabinsk coming over, whoosh, that bolide hit and it created the concussion, just like Tunguska. Either mechanism, same result. Although some are more identifiable than others, you're going to start to get patterns. As these dielectric properties mix and match, hydrodynamics, aerodynamics, supersonic winds, ionized base minerals out of the crust of the earth, leaving visible traces. Follow the wind. Follow the pattern. Follow the vibration. Follow the interference wave or electrical discharge. Brownian tree, electrical scarring, Kyrgyzstan. Visible right in front of you. That coloration is something else. How far in each direction do you think that vein that was cracked has refilled with some other mineral? Like quartz, for example. Hyperconductive. Airburst feature, what would happen with the cyclonic winds in full updraft above our atmosphere? A divoting of the Earth's surface. With the electrical scarring running down the center, showing you which direction the winds went, it would be more of what we've seen in some of the 1950s low-grade nuclear tests in the desert. Single shock wave followed by multiple shock waves, and with the dielectric properties separating material by charge and element, you should start to see patterning of heavier to lighter materials along these same exact lines of strong secondary waves. And what do we have here? Top right, the butterfly pattern. That's the bolide above Earth shock wave impetus drawing up above Earth's atmosphere. Supersonic winds. But far from the blast pattern, far from there, you would also have that same amount of ionized particles coming from that discharge layering themselves, blowing like grains of sand across the desert. Now scale it to this here in Kyrgyzstan. This is electric geology. You know how big some of the sand dunes you've seen at beaches, possibly if you've been in the desert, in the Sahara, that'll rival the largest sand dunes out there. So where did all this superfine particulate come from to make that sand pattern in the wind? Well, it's actually an ionized wind blowing apart the surface of the Earth to the point where everything's rearranging itself by density in the atomic scale and layering. That's what you're seeing. But then the dielectric properties of the minerals in our crust would start layering themselves, along with shockwave wind formation patterns of hillsides. Stratification. You're seeing it right in front of you. I bet there's a lot of really good mineral deposits in that country. And here we have those that witnessed the event some 10, 12,000 years ago, or earlier, some say 4,000. What we can replicate now in the plasma laboratory is what was seen and what was left in these canyon walls. I'll run through a few images here for you. I've linked everything in the description box below so you can chase down your own information. Thunderbolts, electric geology, electric universe, sapphire, S-A-F-I-R-E. And do you see the centipede in the center? And at the bottom left, the star. X flares have an X. I wonder how many. It would be X100, and it would have something shining as a six-sided star. Squatterman is just the base for all the electric formations to grow off of, following the same circuit down the center. Squatterman, the most famous across the planet, seen in every culture, mentioned in every culture, references and iconography, images, paintings, drawings, carvings in every culture across the planet. It must be the first one to be seen. So when you surpass a certain type of charge, this will glow first. In the heavens, something like this, would you keep going to work if you saw that? Would you save for your retirement if you saw that? Now, what if you knew this would be back in 2024, October? And I'll bring you some different plasma experiments here on the right. I see number 7 on the left looking very similar. And you can see 12 starting to take on some similar configuration, 11 as well. What you're looking at is charge state. What I would do is rearrange the petroglyphs by the charge that they first start glowing and taking shape that people could carve them on the canyon wall. I'll say number 22 and number 20 are the strongest current flow versus number 5, which is the beginning. See, glyph number 5 is on the bottom right in the plasma laboratory. But then glyph number 17 is the top left. You can see the charge states increased. So is the vibration, so is the change in the plasma itself. The frequency is changing, so the plasma is going to change in intensity and what it does, how it glows, what it looks like, what shape it takes. So again, I'll say right up there, number 22 will probably be one of the highest charges on the entire spectrum there. Starting with number 5 should be the top left, and 22 should be the bottom right, and then you can fill in the rest. And the plasma columns that you're seeing are actually connecting out through the ionosphere, way above the mesosphere, back to the sun. So when they're illuminating, below what you're going to see are electric elves encircling the Earth's magnetic field line. So whatever they witnessed at that mountain must have been much lower in the atmosphere. So I'm wondering how that phenomena could occur 300 miles further down into our atmosphere. But it's all about the wave. Expansion fan wave. We're going to talk about this in part 3. And how those same supersonic winds can bend in on themselves. And the elephant in the room, thermal stratification and layer deposition. Is it really that easy to pick out mineral deposits? Knowing where electric geology took place and everything reoriented itself, and all those same atoms and molecules pulled back in from the same elements in the crust and rearranged themselves in giant iron ore deposits, manganese deposits, silver deposits, gold deposits, whatever it is. And all snap back together, and they're charging you huge money to go in and mine this stuff. It's already right there. I guess it's about the supply chain and building roads in there to get it out. This trucking highway will get you to China. Incredible amount of change happening so quickly across the planet, just never ending. Something larger is at play. A cycle such as this, that's going to limit food production. Hungry people get a little angry. They want more change. And governments through history have had a problem with this. So get in front of the problem and start controlling access to food through some means as global crop production decreases because of these same electrical changes. I mean, these discharges I'm showing you here are far orders of magnitude compared to a grand solar minimum, but the same rules apply. The vibration's changing. So instead of it being a mountain range moved by ionic action, think about how the cloud layers, the cloud cells, the jet streams could be moved by electrical current moving out of our crust into the upper atmosphere, trying to equalize with the sun. A cloud's much more pliable than a rock. So it really would only take a small current change to change the cloud layers and move the atmosphere more. Then it would be noticeable with this kind of discharge that the ancients witnessed and then gave us warnings across all the canyon walls. They saw every single shape that we have replicated to this day. And there's a lot of shapes that they have not been able to make a match yet. Perhaps with magnetic motors they may, and the electromagnetic current they may. But for now, stay on your toes with the changes. It's moving fast, everything's moving so fast now. Double talk, double speak. You do want to get yourself some storable foods. Now, whether you go get it yourself, I encourage you to do that too. Please just go get food somewhere, and you're going to need extra. Get the Mylar bags if you can. Learn how to store it, dry it, get the glass jars if you can, mason jars. But if you can't do that, 3-month emergency food supply, 25-year stable shelf life, Adapt 2030 in my Patriot supply. Either way, the food's going to be the most important thing, the most valuable commodity moving forward in 2022. I thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Stay tuned for part 2 and then part 3 as I delve deeper into the Kyrgyzstan landscape, petroglyphs, myth, legend, and water issues driving geopolitics in that same country. I'll see you next time.